Okay, so I don't know whether or not this video is going to be a meme or not, but regardless of whether this is a joke video or it takes the topic fully seriously and tries to genuinely predict what would happen in this scenario, I think it's worth covering because there is a possibility that at some point in our lifetimes, maybe sooner than later, something like this actually happens. I mean, I think the existence of Trump kind of tells us that anything could happen in the world of American politics at this point, right? And that's the big question. What if Mr. Beast ran for president? I've had this video in my recommended for a couple days now, and I've been ignoring it, and I finally decided, you know what? I'll just react to it on stream if it's not going to get out of my recommended. It was uploaded 11 days ago by a YouTuber named Incus. I don't think there's going to be anything objectionable here as far as, like, you know, not wanting to promote this channel. I guess we'll find out in a moment, but for, you know, for posterity, I'll go ahead and drop my link to this video in the chat so you guys can go send some support, drop a like, subscribe, whatever it may be, comment on it. You know, I don't want to just steal views from a video. You know how it is. And we're going to check this out because I wonder if there's anything I can add to this. I feel like there's a real conversation to be had about whether or not in the near future we could see huge YouTubers consider presidential campaigns. Hell, Brandon Herrera, the gun YouTuber, like the biggest gun YouTuber, is literally running for Congress in Texas. Like right now, he is running for Congress in Texas, and he's doing well. So YouTubers running and winning political campaigns is not like a crazy thing, especially if they are really big, like huge YouTubers, Mr. Beast sized, for example. Destiny running for president would signal the end times? Well, I think he does plan to run for president, right?
In 2048, YouTube's #1 content creator, Jimmy Donaldson, also known as Mr. Beast, announces a historic bid for the presidency of the United States. From here, America's biggest YouTuber joins a crowded presidential field for the White House. Throughout the past several years,
Are we assuming he's running as a Republican?
Joins a crowded
Presidential contenders. Okay, wait, Fetterman's a Democrat. Kinda. Okay, so these are... I guess... What? Why is Vivek here? I don't know. I guess this is before Vivek dropped out. I guess these are hypothetical, like, contenders that he's up against. Yeah, these are Democrats and Republicans. Yeah.
Field for the White House. Throughout the past several years, Mr. Beast has floated around the idea of running for president. Those close to him have also mentioned his White House ambitions. But what would a Mr. Beast campaign look like? How will it operate? In this video, we're going to find out. Subscribe.
Would he continue making YouTube videos even as the president, do you think? Like, if he got elected president, if he, like, ran and got elected president, would we have President Beast? Because it wouldn't be Mr. Beast anymore. It'd be President Beast now. Would we have videos still where it's like him in the suit and he's like, hey there everyone, today we're gonna, I don't know, what would be like a presidential Mr. Beast video? We're gonna flood the whole White House with Orbeez. That would be a presidential Mr. Beast video, flooding the entire White House with Orbeez. He'd do that.
And leave a comment to let me know what you think.
I'd vote
Today
for
we're
it.
going to base Mr. Beast's platform and chances off of historic precedent.
Hold on. To be clear, we're all voting for Mr. Beast if he runs for president, right? Like, to be completely clear here, we're voting for Mr. Beast if he runs for president. Like, we're all in agreement here, right? There's no disagreement, there's no mix-ups here. No? Jade Monkey, what the fuck? Are you serious? I think Mr. Beast would be a good president. I do. I actually do. Unless you think he's actually the Antichrist, because a lot of people think he's the Antichrist, then I think that Mr. Beast would actually be a pretty good president. He actually gives a fuck about people and is like a human, for starters. Is Mr. Beast old enough to be president? Oh, you're right. Fuck, I forgot. He was born like 23 years old, which means he can never be president. Damn it. Right, he's a 23-year-old. He'll never be able to be president. It's just not possible. He'll never be able to run for president. I'm obviously being a little snarky here, but yeah, he's like 25. He'll have to get older, but like That just gives him more time to build his empire, you know? Do we think Mr. Beast will be able to hold on to this level of exploding popularity for the next 3 to 5 years? I hope he does. I actually like his content. I think it's good. As long as he continues to reinvest his money into making crazy, cool content, I think he'll continue to grow. The only problem is, I wonder if he'll ever reach a cap where it's like diminishing returns. He can't make enough money back off of YouTube to pay for even crazier things, you know? And maybe he plateaus in like the scale of projects and just ends up having to get more creative with what he does. Hard to say. He is also expanding his empire outside of the English-speaking world by paying people to translate and dub over his videos in different languages, which is literally opening up his content to entire nations of people. Like, it's actually pretty crazy. If you could have a person who dubs all your videos in I don't know, Mandarin, and open yourself up to like a Chinese viewer base, for example. Although I don't know if can people in China watch YouTube like just without any issues. I would assume maybe that opens you up to an insanely massive audience that maybe hasn't even been tapped into in that like language on YouTube. Yeah, hey, if anyone here can dub my videos in Japanese, yeah. Japanese Mr. Beast is voiced by Naruto, or was it Luffy? Yeah, I remember people talking about that. The fact that the Japanese Mr. Beast videos are dubbed by the Japanese voice actor for like some really popular main character from a really popular anime. And it's just like nobody talked about it, and people were just like, wait a second, is that? Holy shit! Mr. Beast doesn't even advertise it.
Predictions.
Let me ask you that about being the greatest YouTuber ever. What's next? Because I was listening to your Rogan, and I swear to God, I thought this guy should be president.
Oh!
No, I'll say that'd be fun. Is that something you've thought about?
Yeah, the only thing
Political
is...
aspirations.
Yeah, I would love to.
From Jimmy's past expressed disdain for climbing the political ladder from local office to national, we assume he spends his time...
That clip seemed really clipped out of context, to be fair. I wonder if there's a big but, and he's just like, but I don't know if I'd have the time. I think it's a little bit of a pipe dream. I wonder if this is sort of like... for the sake of the, you know, hypothetical, he's editing things to make it seem like he actually plans to run for president. I don't know. I'd vote for him. You're correct? Okay.
Up until this point, continuing building his YouTube empire and other businesses such as Feastables. As stated in an insider article,
I've had Mr. Beast Burger. I had the Beast Burger, and my friend Ethan had the Chris Burger. It did, in fact, make him trans. He's been growing parts ever since he had the burger. Anyway, that aside, I had the Beast Burger. It was really good. You know, pretty decent burger. You know, it just seems like they had some decent ground beef. They made it into a patty, threw it on a grill, grilled it, like it actually seemed like it was grilled, and then put it on a bun with the toppings I asked for, lettuce, tomato, and pickle. It was solid. It was just a solid burger, and the fries were okay. The fries weren't like top tier or anything. They weren't the best fries I've ever had by any means, but they were like below McDonald's, above Checkers and Burger King, I would say. Like I would say like a fair bit below McDonald's quality fries, in my opinion, as far as flavor. Granted, they were kind of cold when I got them because the delivery driver was a little slow. But maybe when they're hot, they're way better. But I've never had White Castle versus. Yeah, I don't know. It was a solid burger, but I've never had the Feastable bar. I definitely want to try and pick up a Feastable bar of like a milk chocolate one and try it out like on stream for the bit. I think that'd be cool. Oh, I do not like Burger King or Checkers. Those are my two least favorite fast food places ever. Like, I would turn down a free meal from those places. Like, right now, I would turn them down. Yeah. The lowest quality fast food I'll generally go for, in my opinion, low quality, is McDonald's. I like Taco Bell. I don't really like anything from Taco Bell except the thing I get from them, though, which is, like, 12 soft-shell beef tacos. I like getting 12, and then I eat them all in one sitting in roughly a span of 5 minutes. Gotta eat them before they get cold. You know how it is. Yeah, 12. I'm not even lying to you guys. I get 12 soft shell beef tacos. They come in that like big cardboard box, like that little basket. And yeah, I could eat the fuck out of 12 tacos right now. Yeah, roughly in about 5 minutes, I just inhale them. Very enjoyable. I love Taco Bell soft shell beef tacos. They're really good. How did we get to this from talking about Mr. Beast? I really need to get on ADHD meds.
Mr. Beast plans to run for president in his mid-40s. By the time he's in his mid-40s, the nearest presidential year will approximately be 2048. By 2048, Jimmy will reach the constitutional age of eligibility, being at least 35 years old and already meeting the 14-year residency requirement, as well as being a natural-born citizen, having been born in Kansas. Slightly less than half of the states in the country.
Kansas, really? Okay. I knew he lived in like one of the Carolinas now, but Kansas. God, the most boring state. Besides maybe Nebraska.
Allow candidates to use nicknames on the presidential ballot. In these states, for more name recognition and for brand cohesion, we assume Jimmy would run as Mr. Beast. Other states that prohibit nicknames, Jimmy would obviously have to run as Jimmy Donaldson. It would make both poetic.
I really do think it'd be better from just run as Jimmy Donaldson across the board. I don't think he would need to run under the Mr. Beast name. I feel like enough people know... Like, if they want to vote for Mr. Beast, they're going to learn his name, one way or the other. He's going to be on TV. He's going to be running big YouTube videos and ads and stuff. Like, he's going to be like, I'm Jimmy Donaldson, also known as Mr. Beast. Vote for me, and, you know, he'd be doing a big thing, right?
Poetic and logical sense for Jimmy to announce from his hometown in Greenville, North Carolina, a town he never left as his current base of operations. In the present, Mr. Beast works with the town's mayor in monthly calls on using the Mr. Beast business to help bolster the town's economic growth. It would be symbolic.
Wait, that's actually based as fuck. Yeah, he's like kept his business that he's built online, like set in his hometown, and he's working with the local government to help the money made be reinvested into his community. Like, people have given him shit for how his charity causes are just, you know, they're just philanthropy. They're just charity. They don't really solve or acknowledge any systemic problems. But it seems like, and I didn't even know this, Mr. Beast is already getting involved in politics and trying to make a real difference, you know? I'm not saying Mr. Beast isn't making a difference with what he's doing, but, like, actually tackling the root of the problem is even better than just going after the, you know, solving the symptoms, right? Interesting. I had no idea he was doing that. That's awesome.
To announce from a town whose economic success he's played a significant role in, and especially if his home.
Mr. Beast used to be in Elon Musk's... Oh my god, I can't talk today. I think I need to drink some more water. My mouth is just dry. Mr. Beast used to be kind of an Elon stan, I'll admit. But I really haven't seen him say anything positive about him in a while. He kind of removed the Elon Musk references from his video. He's also, like, best childhood friends with a trans person, and has, like, defended said trans person against transphobia online quite ardently, and continued to platform her, like, nonstop and, like, without any reservations, it seems. And also, like, Mr. Beast is, yeah, he's very clearly gotten more progressive, especially post Chris coming out as trans. Like, being someone who's childhood friends with a trans person, and then, like, you're just like, you don't really care. Like, it doesn't bother you, but you're also not like a super trans ally or anything like that. You just don't get it, and it doesn't bother you. They're your best friend, and that's all that matters. But then you see your best friend get nonstop hate and vitriol simply because of their identity, and they're your best friend. You've known them for years, since you were kids, and you care about them, and you see what they have to deal with. Not only does that proximity increases tolerance argument, you know, account here, but proximity also equals sort of vicariously living that experience. It's really hard to not empathize with the experience of LGBT people, for example, when you've seen firsthand what they go through from the perspective of someone you care about, right? That's going to play a big role in whether or not Mr. Beast is going to be tolerant of what Elon Musk says and does as of late, right? And what's happening on the platform. Hell, Mr. Beast has refused to upload on X instead of YouTube, like Elon Musk asked him to, right? Like, Mr. Beast has multiple times turned him down on the request, like, publicly.
home state of North Carolina solidifies as a swing state in the next few decades, having been just decided as recently as the 2020 election by just about a percentage point, making the state competitive for Democrats and Republicans in 2024. Inevitably, because it's politics, Mr. Beast's public opinion will drop once he jumps into the presidential race. Remaining apolitical and nonpartisan is something that Jimmy's been very conscious of for a long time. His manager Reed commented on advising Mr. Beast in 2018 to avoid the use of guns in his videos.
And him and I talked about it a lot in the early days. It's like, we got to stop the gun stuff.
Right? Like there's a format of that on television and there are ads that play before that video.
Yeah, that's the rough thing. That's the really, really rough thing. So the problem with gun content is twofold. For one, outside of America, guns are not that popular. People don't see guns as cool. They don't see with Americans with guns as like fun or cool or anything like that. They see it as like stupid and dangerous, and they don't understand it and they don't care about it, and they don't have like a cultural interest in guns even as a concept. And so when like Mr. Beast is thinking about reaching a wide audience, he's not thinking how wide most YouTubers are thinking. He's thinking worldwide. He wants his content to appeal to as broad of an audience as physically possible. So guns are a big one. Like just not having guns be talked about at all so that the people who are really pro-gun don't start arguments about it in your community, and the people who are really anti-gun don't feel offended by the presence of them and feel like you may have an opinion one way or the other on other political issues, is the best idea when you're trying to be like a large, globally palatable content creator. I believe there was some other stats I heard from possibly that very podcast this guy is referencing. One of them is that the reference of, I'm going to say it and my viewer count is going to drop because of this, references to urine cause your viewer count to drop a noticeable amount instantaneously. For some reason, people have really big hang-ups over that, and you should really avoid even mentioning it. Even saying, I'm going to get up and go pee is a bad idea. I know it's weird, but if you, like, maybe not the case in my smaller chat at the moment, but that's completely true. And I bet that will show in the analytics of this video. Yeah, I'm not even joking. There are people who are so squeamish about it that mentioning it ostracizes like 2% of your audience or something like that. Like not a crazy big percentage, but like a noticeable percentage of trends across videos show a like roughly an average of 2% instant drop the second piss is mentioned in any form of content. It's weird, but there's things like that you have to know when you're a content creator, because yeah, it gives you an idea of what you should avoid and what you should gravitate towards. You got to know these things, and Mr. Beast is really, really good at knowing these things.
18-year-old kid in the middle of nowhere, shooting stuff at random was like not something people were going to sponsor.
Another case of this has been shown in a podcast from Lex Friedman interviewing Mr. Beast. When asked about his opinions on censorship, Jimmy deferred the question.
With shadow banning,
Lex Friedman is like pretty conservative leaning, but he's also got like that broad mainstream appeal. I don't think this is like a big deal or anything.
Censorship and all that kind of topic, especially if you see it in other platforms like Twitter. Do you think about the role of centralized control of which information isn't or isn't made available through search and discovery?
I'll be honest, I never really think about it. So
you just try to make fun videos that.
Yeah, I'm kind of more in my own lane, but it's not like that I don't just specifically think about it. I just like a lot of stuff in general. Like I'm just kind of in my own lane, thinking about my own stuff.
One of the reasons why he has expressed wanting to run is to work on bridging our political polarization. Like many Americans, Mr. Beast's political views can't be labeled Democrat or Republican in the two-party system. We get a few clues on.
I used to cringe a lot when Democrats and like liberals and whatnot would talk about how politically polarized and divided America is. And I was always like, yeah, okay, virtue signal some more. People are like cringe. Yeah, we've known this. Like conservatives are racist. That's just how it is. But like with how stark the divide has become with like the cultish support for Trump, just because Trump owns the left more, and the fact that so many people on the left are driven to do things like support terrorism with like the Red Sea situation right now, just to like own the right and to own the like conservative Americans or whatever, it really does feel like the division has gotten beyond deranged at this point, and it's gotta cool off. Like, it's gotta cool off, because it's only been escalating, and I feel like it's gonna escalate not towards civil war or anything like that, but just more political violence, mostly on the part of the right, but certainly on the part of the left, too. The left is not immune to, like, the ability to commit political violence, and for it to be wrong when they do it.
What a MrBeast presidential platform could look like. Based on Jimmy's work on Team Trees and Team Seas, being pro-environment would obviously be a plank on the platform. So will social progressivism, which parallels Jimmy's public support for the Black Lives Matter movement and the LGBTQ community, supporting his childhood friend Chris's transition. Economically, he's voiced support for some form of universal basic income or stimulus. He's interacted with the 2020 presidential candidate Andrew Yang in the past, who made these ideas mainstream. It also makes sense as he's built a career off of giving money. He has stated that he wants to show he can't be bought. If I had literally $0 in my bank account and I was like, vote for me, I feel like that's a pretty good campaign thing. These progressive policies mirror the lean of young people, including the iPad kids who comprise many of MrBeast's audience. They will ease in and comprise.
Well, okay, so the problem you have to remember, though... Well, okay, so here's the thing, though. Millennials who make up, like, you know, maybe like a third of MrBeast's audience, Gen Z who probably makes up like 60 to 70%, and Gen Alpha who are so young, they're, you know, the oldest are probably able to make up like 30% or something of his audience. The math might be off there, but I think I got it about right. If we're talking about like 2046, I think it was, when MrBeast would be able to run for president for the first time, yeah, by then most of his audience, if not all of it, that's like around now, that's American, will have hit voting age. They'll be legally able to vote by then. And then some, more like waves of his fans too. That's a well, you have to remember, MrBeast's sub count accounts for a lot of people that aren't even American. We have to look at what percentage of his active subs, remember. MrBeast is an old channel, okay? He gets a lot of views per video, but if you look at his total view count and you look at the amount of views he gets per video, well, it's not a bad ratio. It's very clear that a certain percentage of his audience, possibly tens of millions of subs, are completely dead inactive accounts. And people made new accounts and resubbed to him. And so there's probably a good amount of dead weight on his channel currently. So we'd have to account for that too, and it's hard to tell how much of his sub count would be that. But if we look at the amount of his fans that are active and American and would be 18 or older by the time MrBeast is able to run for president, and compare that to how many votes are needed generally to win an election, and we account for growth in American population, which I think is supposed to plateau off and level out soon. Hard to say. Hard to say. I genuinely don't know how many of MrBeast's fans are American. I think a lot of Canadians, British people, you know, so on, make up his fan base too. Like, it might not be as many American people as you think, because he's got very broad worldwide appeal.
The majority of America's electorate and will be part of his winning coalition. But the point is, by the time MrBeast runs, the youngest of his current audience will be of voting age. MrBeast's Olympics video also shows what his foreign policy could look like, such as what countries he would recognize if elected president. Of course, that's not without controversy. It's been called a geopolitical nightmare and cursed for the countries it recognizes and doesn't. There will be several key advantages MrBeast will enjoy, but also disadvantages he'll suffer from. Among the list of advantages includes money, obviously. He can self-finance. Jimmy has strong financial backing. He stated that he would make giving away money a part of his campaign. Because MrBeast can self-finance his campaign, he's less likely to listen to the special interests, including political action committees and lobbyists.
Yeah, I feel like MrBeast would just, like, take a sponsorship to do a video where it's, like, giving $5,000 to every person on the street who subscribed to me. And he would be walking around, like, the streets of New York or LA, and he'd walk up to a person if they seem friendly and, you know, accepting. Or he'd have, like, a sign that says, like, I don't know, do you know me? Or something. And everybody who's subbed to him, and they can show it on their phone or whatever, he gives them, like, $5,000. He used to do that. And then he asked them, are you gonna vote for MrBeast? Are you gonna vote for me? And, like, does a video where he, like, if he does a video like that as a campaign, like, advertisement, that would go mega viral, like any other MrBeast video, and get his campaign existing in front of countless eyes. Not to mention, if MrBeast simply tweeted, I'm running for president, every drama YouTuber, every news YouTuber, several major news outlets would already be talking about it. So the news would spread really fast. It would be like an exponentially, like, increasing explosion, basically. the more people who found out about it, the more reporting there would be, and it would be like an endless loop. Everyone would know that Mr. Beast is running for president within like a week. Maybe less.
An electorate.
Yeah, he'd get tons of free advertising. The world's biggest YouTuber running for president, oh my god, the amount of news coverage of the topic would be free advertising alone.
Tired of corruption could find this refreshing. And there's precedent to this. Billionaires before, such as Ross Perot, most notably financed their own national campaign. However, Perot didn't enjoy the name recognition that Jimmy has right now and will likely increase in the future, which leads me to my next point. Loyal following. Already, Mr. Beast.
Yeah, there are just a lot of like Gen Z, Gen Alpha, and Millennials that give such a little fuck about politics. They would vote for Mr. Beast because they like him, and there's finally someone that they actually like as a person running for president. I genuinely think that would get a lot of people to vote for him. Just the fact that a lot of his audience are probably not super politically active. They probably don't vote. And Mr. Beast being on the ballot might be enough to make them vote for the first time, and it would be for Mr. Beast.
Has more social media followers than many former US presidents and sitting senators. His YouTube channel has been watched by more than 10% of the world. In terms of viewership and following, no other creator comes even close. He is undoubtedly the most influential content creator ever in YouTube. Jimmy's campaign can bring a large swath of traditionally apathetic voters into the voting process. Like other celebrities such as Taylor Swift, Jimmy already wields the influence that can increase turnout and civic engagement with a social media post. These first-time voters who believe in Jimmy before he entered politics will follow him there. Tension.
10% of the world means like that's 10% of the world. Holy shit. Like, that's not even accounting for, like, English-speaking countries. That's 10% of the fucking world. So that means in America, if you walk up to a random person on the street, at least 1 out of 10 of them, 1 out of 10 people you randomly stop on the street, has watched a Mr. Beast video. Not knows who Mr. Beast is. Not has heard of Mr. Beast because their kids watch him. Has watched a Mr. Beast video. That's fucking crazy. And it's probably more than that because it's 10% of the world. God knows how much of that 10% is made up by America, Canada, the UK, etc.
Mr. Beast will enjoy the luxury of having traditional media and the internet on his side, but more especially the latter. It'll be a big thing on the internet for sure, because it's possible that they could elect the first YouTube president. It was the internet that propelled a then Senator Barack Obama into the national spotlight and helped in his run for the presidency as he used the internet to build a grassroots donor base. It was traditional media's laser coverage of celebrity Donald Trump's campaign that helped him win as well. A lot of debates and other events in the—
Well, okay, so Donald Trump primarily, I feel like Donald Trump won because of 2 big reasons. Well, 3 big reasons. For one, and this was proven, his campaign coordinated with the Russian government in order to leak secrets, like, about, or not even just to leak shit about the Democratic Party and Hillary Clinton to make her look bad. And he also played into it by starting a ton of rumors, and, you know, his fan base started a ton of rumors that caught on and spread and were repeated in lots of media and just became big jokes and memes online. So people kind of had jokes become reality sort of subconsciously for them with the whole, like, exposing the Democrats, exposing Hillary thing for Trump and his cronies. And then from there, you had the fact that Trump came into the space roughly as bad as he was ever going to get during his campaign. Like, one of my earliest memories of Donald Trump was that time that he mocked a reporter who is, like, disabled or something like that. Like, he was mocking him, like, doing an impression that was very offensive. That was, like, the first big thing I remember Trump doing. That was his entrance into this space. That was, like, year 1 of his campaign, like, month 1, year 1 of his existence in the world of politics. When he starts like that, there's no big, shocking thing he can do that just makes people drop him. Because people have already become numb to the worst of what he is capable of, and they've already begun bracing themselves for him to go even further by the time he does go further, you know? When he's really in office and he's fucking everything up. They're already ready to make excuses for it because they feel so bought in to the whole thing.
Presidential election process involved playing to the audience. Jimmy is a natural entertainer. He knows how to communicate his message most effectively, which is key to a country seeking new leadership. Outsider. Another advantage for Mr. Beast is being an outsider. Historically, the country has had a hunger for anti-establishment figures that can shake the system up. Mr. Beast, with his lack of traditional political experience, can be used as a strength as voters will look to him as an anti-career politician candidate. Someone who could be seen as the man of the people, as he hasn't been in Washington for decades and still remains incredibly grounded to the people throughout his philanthropy. Among the list of disadvantages, Mr. Beast running as an independent or his own party candidate has a strong chance of being locked out of the presidency if the country doesn't abolish the electoral college system. Historically, independent as well as third-party bids for
Yeah, well, he would have to run as a Democrat, I think, realistically. Although he would... it's hard to say how many of his fans he would... he would probably have to run as an independent in order to keep, like, the benefit of being Mr. Beast, right? You know, the fact that he's got such unanimous bipartisan support from so many people, and he's this outsider that people are willing to just support no matter what. So I think the idea that he's just got his own set of beliefs and fits into no party would work. But, like, yeah, it's hard to say with the Electoral College whether or not, like, even sheer numbers would make a difference. But, like, they'd have to, right? Like, the problem with third-party candidates is they don't get votes. That's the problem. Third-party candidates don't get votes. They're just a waste of votes when people who otherwise would support another more viable candidate would rather give their votes to them. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say what the best move for Mr. Beast would be in that situation. I honestly think it would be one of the few cases where a third-party candidate could genuinely sweep an election would be Mr. Beast. I think his chances would be pretty good, the more I think about it.
Or the White House have failed. In recent memory, we have not had an independent US president. Unless you run under one of the two parties, your chances of winning the presidency are slim. Even former President Teddy Roosevelt, who failed to secure his election nomination as the Republican candidate, chose to run as a third party under the Bull Moose label. Even a former president failed to get a sizable share of the electoral votes.
I will not make age an issue of this campaign. I am not going to exploit for political purposes.
Well, it's hard to say, though. In 2046, with so many young people like being the voter base, like maybe the idea of voting third party for someone they really like is just a much more plausible thing in the future, you know? We're talking 20 years from now.
My opponent's youth and inexperience.
Age could also be made an issue in the campaign. Voters might think Mr. Beast is too young at this point in time. Older voters who are less likely to know.
We're talking about Mr. Beast in 20 years here. Yes, he will be at the very beginning of when he's able to run, but we're talking about a Mr. Beast who would presumably have another 20 years of growing his massive empire and, like, making the world a better place in front of the entire world while, like, building, like, an entire multiple generations' childhoods. Creating their childhoods. Like, I really think, like, the more I think about it, the more I think Mr. Beast's chances would be, like, astronomical.
Of Mr. Beast, or pragmatic young voters will write Mr. Beast off as a perennial candidate among the likes of the guy Vermin Supreme who runs every cycle while wearing a shoe for a hat. Again, assuming he continues making YouTube videos up until this point, other voters will criticize Jimmy for his lack of political experience and will write him off as unserious. They'll argue that Jimmy's experience as a YouTuber will not translate over to being a good world leader. But then again, America has had an entertainer to the presidency pipeline. California elected Hollywood actor Ronald Reagan to the governorship, and then later the country elected him to the White House. Even more amazingly, America elected Donald Trump directly to the presidency, who, unlike his 44 predecessors, held no office prior. It's impossible for pundits at times to 100% accurately predict the next election cycle, much less predict a cycle decades away. Who knows? Mr. Beast might not even run for the presidency because of the time he needs to allocate to the campaign, as well as the years of planning in advance. Winning the presidency would also require Jimmy to sacrifice 4 years of his life at the minimum, and if he wants to seek re-election, another 4.
I would want to see him continue YouTube, even if he has to, like, slow down the production of content or, like, make it so someone else hosts a lot more of his videos, but they're still being funded and made and everything by his team. Like, but it's like under his name, like sort of a company for a lot of the videos, and he's there for some of them. Even then, just having President Beast there for like 20% of the videos would be well worth it.
On top of that, the job itself, already hard to earn, will require lots of energy and stress. By the end of Jimmy's term, he could wound up with a lot of gray hair, but Jimmy's smart. Like for his buried alive or no eating video, he'll consult with the veterans in the field. He'll have meetings with the best campaign strategists, consultants, and organizers he can find before making a decision. Already, he's been in some sort of political conversations. He's friends with those in politics, including former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger and billionaire Elon Musk. He's been on a poker show with Senator Ted Cruz, and his hearing blindness videos spark political dialogue. While any presidential election in the 2040s is decades,
Mr. Beast just doesn't, like, try to get people pissed off. Yeah, Elon, and Ted Cruz too. But it doesn't really seem like Mr. Beast cares about who he is interacting with if he's getting platformed. As much as I hate to say it, Elon Musk is still more famous than Mr. Beast. Like, as a figure, Elon Musk is more famous than Mr. Beast. It's the truth. And Mr. Beast has a lot to gain from getting shouted out and even mentioned by Elon Musk. The same goes for someone like Ted Cruz, or really any political figure that's holding office. Sad but true. If you were a YouTuber and you had a a political office holder like talking about you, you probably wouldn't want to piss them off, or just like when you're not a political figure, you're just like a entertainer, you probably wouldn't want to completely like burn that bridge, even if they're super cringe. Wait, how old is Mr. Beast? I thought he was Vash's age. No, bro's 25, dude. Mr. Beast is 25 years old. He blew up when he was like 20. Like 21.
Away, the grounds for a potential Mr. Beast presidential campaign is constantly being built, whether Jimmy knows it or not. Everything Jimmy's doing across the country, opening a Mr. Beast restaurant in New Jersey to giving money to strangers in California, is setting up the groundwork for Mr. Beast for president. The people whose lives have been touched by him will be his most loyal supporters. And if Jimmy wins, it will also pose further interesting questions. Can an independent president work with such a partisan Congress on passing legislation? Will he improve America's image in the world? But the question for now remains, will Mr. Beast run? Is this his endgame? Additionally, if he agrees to mount such an ambitious bid, is the influence that Mr. Beast has now, plus what he accumulates in the future, enough to overcome the two-party system?
Well, I think, okay, so I guess that's the end of the video anyway. You know what, I think this is a good frame to like have up on screen while we have the end bit of this conversation. So, what really is the biggest question here isn't whether or not Mr. Beast, like, presuming he continues to go on as he is now, in 20 years would be able to run for president and win. The real question is, because what he relies on is this in order to even have a chance of winning in the first place, is will his YouTube channel still be around and having the same or more, and it would need to have the same or more, levels of success in 20 years? YouTube's been around for almost 20 years now. Not quite 20 years, but almost 20 years. And there is yet to be a YouTuber who's been able to make a lifelong career off of it. Not only because the platform just hasn't been around long enough to see whether it's possible to have a long-term career, especially at the top, maintained on the platform, but also because we've seen that, generally speaking, most people on YouTube that even make it to a really good spot end up losing it over time. The platform is fickle, burnout exists, and if you aren't able to push through it and keep making content and keep growing your audience, you won't be able to keep YouTube happy and your channel will drown. So yeah, I mean, like, a lot of channels just aren't able to maintain it, and it's not a career thing for a lot of people. And I wonder if, I mean, at this point, Mr. Beast has such a large team making content, it almost seems like he's reached critical mass. But there's also been other channels that have had similar levels of success proportionally that were thought to be just as untoppable. Think about Smosh. Obviously, I think Smosh is back now. Maybe they're unback. I don't know. I haven't kept up. But, like, Smosh at one point was the biggest channel on YouTube. They had, like, what was at the time the equivalent to a Mr. Beast team level of employees. They were making tons of different type of content. Their channel was like a media channel, the first of its kind, and they were thought to be unstoppable. They were the highest quality of YouTube content at the time in terms of production value, and they were genuinely thought to be unstoppable. If you told someone in like 2013 or 2012 that in like 3 to 2 years Smosh would be like a shadow of its former self, they would laugh in your face. It would be like telling someone right now, hey, in 2 years, Mr. Beast is going to be making like 10% of the views and sub growth he's making now. None of you would believe me. It was the same deal with Smosh. So I wonder if in 20 years, Mr. Beast is going to be maybe not irrelevant, but nothing close to where he is now in regards to the level of growth and active support he has. The Last of Us also won Outstanding Main Title Design, and Outstanding Special Visual Design in a season or a movie, and Outstanding Sound for a comedy drama. Well, okay, Delancer, I appreciate that, but that has nothing to do with what we're talking about here. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I think Mr. Beast could definitely continue onward in the next 20 years as long as he continues to do what has been working for him now, and YouTube doesn't do anything that just makes his type of content impossible to keep up, right? YouTube sometimes does that. Sometimes there's just one big YouTube change that makes an entire genre of content a YouTube channel made impossible to maintain anymore, and the channel just dies. It happened to a ton of animation channels. YouTube used to be a lot more forgiving to long-form animation videos, and they were, like, viable to make. You wouldn't take too much of a loss from uploading, like, once a month or once every few months with one really long video that, like, made up for that fact because you really put in the time to make a high-quality piece of content. There was a time when that was fully economically viable with YouTube monetization. Now you have to have a Patreon to keep that going. So there could be another change similar to that that makes Mr. Beast's form of content impossible, economically to maintain. He has said that he reinvests roughly 100% of the money he makes off of his videos into the next video. So, yeah. Like if things just changed overnight for him, he could go, relatively speaking, bankrupt. It's a scary thought. He really does live on the edge. He's a bit of an edge runner. He's edging.